Good afternoon, whichever one it is, everybody. Good that time of day again. Alright, today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the absolute value. We did this in class today, but today we're going to focus a little bit more on what the absolute value does for other types of functions. The absolute value function itself is just that weird little V shape, but we could put the absolute value into really anything that has an x and see what it does for a function. Now what I'd like you to do really quick while I'm talking about this, go ahead and write these points down. I'll explain what they are in a minute. 5, 0, 5, 5, 0, 4, 4. Alright, now we know that the absolute value symbol takes anything that was negative and makes it positive, right? So the y values here are coming off of this. It says complete the following tables and graphs, highlight the part of the original graph that has changed. So what I'm doing is I take negative 10 comma 5 and I make the y values positive if they're not already. Well, it is here. 0 is not positive or negative. Negative 5 becomes positive 5 here. Negative 5 becomes positive 5, 0, 4, 4. And then what I've done is to plot those points over on this side. And what I'm going to do now is just connect them, and I do want to try and do this with as straight a line as possible. And connect them just from one point to the other. And what you'll notice here is that nothing is going below the x-axis. So the absolute value of f of x, nothing is below the x-axis. So really, what's changed? See this part right here that was below the x-axis? Now it's above. So the absolute value takes anything that was below the x-axis and flips it up. I'm going to go ahead and do this one down here with you as well. This would be 0, 6, 5, 3, 0, 3, 3, 0, 2, 0, 2. So no negative values on the y. And then you can come over here and plot it. Negative 9, 6, negative 8, 5, negative 6, 3, negative 3, 0, 0, 3. 6, 0, 8, 2, 9, 0, and 10, 2. So again, what I'm looking at here while you're finishing this up, I'm looking at a function that is now strictly above the y-axis. And yeah, it looks a little weird, but that's because nothing is dropping below the y-axis. So the parts that have changed, this part here, and this last little bit here. Those parts were below the x-axis, now they're above, right? And that's what the absolute value does. So down here, it says, what can you conclude about the relationship between f and the absolute value of f? So I would say that anything below the x-axis, is reflected up. Anything below the x-axis is reflected up. Now that is if the absolute value symbol is on the y value. What if it's on the x value? If you need to pause it there to finish writing, pause, finish writing. What if the absolute value is on x instead of y? Well, now it gets a little bit different. See here, when x is negative 10 and y is 5, it wants f of the absolute value of x. So let me zoom in on this part right here just so you can get a good picture of this. It wants f of the absolute value of x. Well, x is negative 10 here. So it wants f of the absolute value of negative 10. Well, what's the absolute value of negative 10? It's 10. So what they really want to go right here, what is f of 10? So go over here to f, find 10. What's the value? It's 4, and I ran out of room. 4. But you get the idea. They're wanting f of 7. 4. Here they're wanting f of 4. 0. F of 0, since that's already positive, or excuse me, not negative rather, f of 0 is negative 5. F of positive 4 is 0. F of 7 is 4. F of 10 is 4. So what I have to do here is find the absolute value of these negative x's. And then when I come over here to plot them, I've got negative 10 comma 4. Alright, negative 7 comma 4. Negative 4 comma 0. 0 comma negative 5. 4 comma 0. 7 comma 4. And 10 comma 4. And then I'm going to connect these with my lines. And let's compare what happened. Look at what happened here. Well, this piece is gone, and the left-hand side looks like it's been replaced with the right-hand side just flipped over. Now, that's what it looks like to me. It may look like something different to you, but to me it looks like the right-hand side flipped over the y-axis and smashed itself on the left-hand side. So let's look at this again. One more here. I want to figure out what is f of 10, the absolute value of 10 here. So what is f of 10? Negative 2. What is f of 9? 0. F of 8? 2. F of 6? 0. F of positive 3, negative 3. F of 0, negative 3. F of 3, negative 3. F of 6 is 0. F of 8 is 2. F of 9 is 0. F of 10 is negative 2. Alright. Let's go ahead and plot this here. Negative 10, negative 2. Negative 9, 0. Negative 8, 2, negative 6, 0, negative 3, negative 3, 0, negative 3, 3, negative 3, 6, 0, 8, 2, 9, 0, 10, negative 2. Alright. And once I get this finished up, we're going to look at the relationship here again. Alright, and again it just looks like the left hand side just went away and the right hand side was moved over to the left. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Looks like this left hand side has been replaced with the right hand side flipped over. Well, let's think about that. Let's answer this question here. The question says, what can you conclude about the relationship between the graph of f and f of the absolute value of x? So here's what I'm going to write down. The left half of the graph oops, graph has a second graph, is replaced by the reflection of the right. So if I give you the absolute value of x, the left-hand side of the graph goes away, is no más. And then you just flip the right-hand side over, and there you go. So here's the summation of absolute value reflections. The absolute value of f, you've got two setups to this. You've got the positive side, you've got the negative side. All right, you've got the positive side, you've got the negative side. So the function, again, the function that is below the x-axis is reflected up, and you can write that here. The function below the x-axis is reflected up, and here the left half of the graph is replaced by a reflection of the right half. It's the same thing we wrote on these sentences up here, and you can write those right in here. So the absolute value of f means that you have a positive aspect of it, you have a negative aspect of it. All right? So let's actually get into some stuff here. First, graph the reflections of f of x. So I need to graph this function here. So a parabola going left 2 and down 9. So here's my new point. Left 2 and, right 2. What am I thinking? Bam. Right 2. Good thing we do our notes in pencil. Inside the parentheses, so right 2, down 9. And then it's a regular parabola, so up 1 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 5 over 1. Like this. All right. And then down on the bottom, it wants us to graph the absolute value of f of x, and it wants us to graph f of the absolute value of x. All right, so for starters here, the absolute value of f of x is the absolute value of, parentheses, x minus 2 squared minus 9. It's the absolute value of everything. So anything that is below the x-axis is going to be flipped up. All right, anything below the x-axis is going to be flipped up. All right, so that means what I like to do on this is go ahead and plot any points that I have that are on or above the x-axis, because those aren't going anywhere. So I've got 5, 0. I've got -1, 0. And it's going to go up just like that, just like it does up here. The top half of the graph does not change. Now the bottom half, on the other hand, instead of 0, -5, we'll have 0, +5. Instead of 1, -8, we'll have 1, +8. Instead of 2, -9, 2, +9. So on and so on. And that's what it's going to look like. That's the absolute value of your y's. Anything that is below the x-axis gets flipped up. Now the absolute value of x, this one is going to look like the absolute value of x minus 2 squared minus 9. Notice the absolute value is only on my x's. So for this one, anything on the right-hand side of the y-axis stays the same. So we've got 0, -5, 1, -8, right? 2, -9, 3, -8, 4, -5, 5, 0. So what I like to do, start off by graphing everything but the left-hand side. And then imagine if this was wet ink and we folded the y-axis and pressed it onto this side, what would it come out being? So it looks something like this. Like an upside down McDonald's M. Alright? So again, that's the absolute value of x's. All your positive x's are reflected over and put onto the left side of the graph. And then obviously, you can check these on a calculator. Now I am going to show you how to do that. We've got a little time left. It's only been 15 minutes, so we've got a little time. I want to show you how to enter these in just really quickly. It's not that difficult as long as you know where the absolute value symbol is at. So, let me do this first one here. Get both of those. So I'm going to go to y equals, clear out any junk I have in there from previous ones. The quickest way to get to the absolute value is pressing the second button and 0. The number 0, in blue letters above 0, it says catalog. And the first option it pops to is ABS, that's absolute value. So press enter, and it's going to be x minus 2 squared plus 9. So type it in just like you see it. Parentheses x minus 2, parentheses squared, and minus 9. You have to close the parentheses for the absolute value. Alright? And then, zoom 6. And there we go. Now, if you have a different calculator, if you go to mode and you scroll down, if you have a next option, keep scrolling down, math print, which is some of your calculators has that on it. Notice it does the absolute value symbols for you instead of having to put ABS. Either way you do it, it doesn't matter. Just close the parentheses. And then for here, we do, for the right-hand side, this one right here, I'm going to type it in just like I see it. Parentheses, second, 0, ABS of x. Now, if you're in the math print one, you just press right to get out of it. If you're in the other one, close your parentheses. Minus 2, parentheses squared, minus 9. There's one. There's the other. Again, let me turn off, I'm going to go to mode, scroll down and turn off math print. We call it pretty print, but I'm going to go to classic. Here's what it looks like if you have the classic one. Parentheses, ABS, parentheses x, close parentheses there, minus 2, parentheses to the power of 2, minus 9. Either way you do it, it ends up the same thing. All right? Have a great one.